This couple had been expecting a baby and finally had one, but when the baby opened their eyes for the first time, what they saw made them scream in shock. For Diane and Jesse, life has been a series of difficult trials since they married, yet the moment they heard their baby's first cry, it felt like the perfect reward for all the sorrow they had endured. But what no one, not even the doctors, expected was the surprise awaiting them when the baby opened her eyes for the first time. Placed in her mother's arms, the little girl was still wailing, her eyes tightly shut. Yet, as Diane began to rock her gently, she slowly calmed down and yawned. Then she blinked twice before finally opening her eyes. Suddenly, Diane screamed, prompting Jesse to reach for her, startled by her reaction. But when he, too, noticed the odd detail in his daughter's eyes, he began to tear up. This baby just might be what he and Diane needed to mend their broken hearts. However, alarmed by the parents' reaction, the doctor and nurses insisted on taking a second look at the newborn. When they noticed the peculiar color of the eyes, they asked for their permission to take the baby for some tests. Diane and Jesse were suddenly frightened by their request. Was there something wrong with their daughter's eyes? The doctor said little but promised a quick update, urging them to rest since their baby would be returned soon, and they would need their strength. Diane and Jesse tried to stay optimistic. Tests didn't always bring bad news. They had been thrilled when the pregnancy test turned out positive, especially after the heartbreak of their previous experience. Diane had taken so long to conceive back then that they feared they might never have a child, making this second chance feel all the more precious. Determined to find answers, they began regular visits to Wo-un. After a series of tests, they learned that both were in perfect health and capable of having children. This news brought them immense relief and joy, and they could finally relax again and wait for their bodies to align. When the test returned positive, they were overjoyed and quickly began preparing for their long-awaited baby. For a few months, everything seemed perfect. They attended prenatal classes, fixed up the nursery, and playfully guessed the baby's gender. Then tragedy struck. About 2 months into the pregnancy, Diane tripped on a morning jog and woke up in the hospital to heartbreaking news. She had miscarried. Overwhelmed by guilt, she blamed herself, but Jesse, though equally devastated, remained at her side, offering unwavering support. He reassured her that it was not her fault and that they would get through this painful time together, drawing on their love and strength. For days, Diane was very depressed and sad. Though deeply affected by the incident, Jesse knew he had to be strong for her. He made it his mission to cheer up. Even when Diane refused to eat, Jesse gently coaxed her, sitting by her side and comforting her. He understood how much the pregnancy had meant to her and how eagerly they had anticipated the baby. Jess's reassuring words and unwavering love began to make a difference, but the most significant difference was made by faith. Diane started attending a support group for women at the local church, where she found the comfort she needed. She accepted that her baby had gone to the angels and felt that he was glad to be able to share this journey with it, however short it had been. Gradually, Diane started to recover from the incident. She smiled more often and slowly returned to her jovial self, the lively and cheerful person she had always been. The darkness of the miscarriage began to lift, replaced by renewed hope. With Jess's encouragement and the support of their faith, they moved forward, cherishing their love and looking ahead with optimism. Over time, they gradually overcame their sorrow, settling into a peaceful routine until a surprise shook their lives again. Jess, ever observant, noticed changes in Diane's weight and appetite, suspecting she might be pregnant. Unsure whether it was reality or his own wishful thinking, he persuaded Diane to take a test. After the hospital tests were complete, they waited anxiously for the results. It was during this waiting period that the couple realized the depth of their desire to have a baby, and they prayed together for a miracle. Diane's hope grew stronger with each passing minute, especially with her appetite and weight gain, but she had brushed it off as normal aging. Suddenly, it was their turn to see the doctor and receive the much-awaited results. The moment of truth had arrived, and their hearts raced with anticipation as they walked into the office, hoping for the best news of their lives. The doctor smiled at them and said, "Congratulations, Diane, you're a month pregnant." Diane was in shock. She had been pregnant for a month and hadn't even known. Jesse was overjoyed, and they had never felt such happiness. Embracing each other, they vowed to take extra precautions this time. As a devoted husband and soon-to-be father, Jesse ensured Diane avoided stress. She often teased him about spoiling her, but he remained vigilant and supportive, accompanying her to regular scans, tests, and prenatal classes. Months passed smoothly, and all seemed perfect. Until one afternoon, Diane's water suddenly broke while she was watching TV. Thankfully, Jesse was home and sprang into action, rushing her to the hospital despite being a week early. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Jesse carefully assisted Diane to the vehicle and managed to stay focused while driving. As he drove, speaking reassuring words to Diane, who was in the back seat writhing in pain from the contractions, he heard a police siren behind them. He glanced at the speedometer and realized he was driving 30 miles per hour in a zone with a maximum speed limit of 25 miles per hour. They were about to be stopped for speeding. Despite the high level of adrenaline, Jesse knew he had to comply with the authorities. He stopped, frustrated by the sudden interruption and hoping the situation wouldn't escalate with his wife in labor in the vehicle. When the officer approached and explained the offense of speeding, Jesse quickly pleaded, explaining that his wife was in labor. The officer immediately ordered Jesse to drive on, even offering to escort them to the hospital to ensure everything went well. He understood the responsibility on his shoulders and pardoned Jesse, but he warned them not to endanger others on the road, as speeding could hurt not only him, but any other innocent driver as well. Escorted by the officer, Jesse and Diane arrived at the hospital. Within moments, the ward filled with the cries of their newborn baby girl. 9 months of cautious pregnancy had finally paid off, and the nurses handed the tiny, cleaned-up bundle to her overjoyed parents. They couldn't stop smiling at their long-awaited miracle, but when she opened her eyes, a bright green ringed with amber, both parents were stunned, having never seen such a remarkable color. Concerned this might be a sign of a health issue, the doctor took the baby for tests, leaving Jesse and Diane anxiously awaiting answers. When he came back, he saw the fear and confusion on the parents' faces, so he smiled and reassured them. He explained that it was a very rare phenomenon, that the baby was perfectly healthy, and that eye coloration was not a medical condition, but rather a very rare trait due to the interaction of multiple variants within the OCA2 and other genes. For the couple, no scientific explanation mattered more than the personal meaning they saw in their daughter's extraordinary eyes. When Diane joined a support group at her local church, she struggled to believe her baby was with the angels. After all, they looked nothing like her or Jesse. She feared her brown-haired, brown-eyed child wouldn't belong among angels often depicted with blonde hair and glittering green or golden eyes. Feeling they'd abandoned their baby to strangers only deepened their pain. However, they could now see that the angels had accepted their baby among them and sent one back to them as a reward. The little girl in their arms, with her green and amber eyes, looked exactly like one of the angels Diane had read so much about. She was her personal miracle, her chance at happiness after so much heartbreak. For this reason, she and Jesse decided to name their little girl Mary. The couple felt deeply fulfilled, and their baby's extra adorable feature made them even prouder parents. It wasn't long before friends and relatives, who had once shared in their sorrow over miscarriage, heard about the beautiful baby they had brought into the world. Before long, baby Mary became somewhat of a celebrity. Relatives traveled from far and wide to see her and posted pictures of the enchanting baby whose eyes were a mesmerizing sight. On Mary's first birthday, the couple received so many gifts that they barely had room to store them all. Everyone who met her was captivated by her beautiful eyes, making Jesse and Diane the proudest parents. They believed the baby they had lost was watching over its little sister from above, and that her remarkable eyes were a personal gift from that angelic sibling. The constant admiration for her striking eyes filled them with joy and pride, turning each day into a celebration of their little miracle. I'm really keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.